Today, we're going to unlock the secrets of a simple, ancient food that might just be the answer to some of our biggest modern health problems. It's been around for centuries, and science is only now catching up to what tradition has known all along.
Okay, so let's just dive right into this. What if the real key to feeling better wasn't some high-tech expensive supplement, but a fermented drink you can literally make in your own kitchen for pennies a day? And look, this isn't just some hypothetical question. It points to a very real problem that, honestly, a lot of us are facing, whether we know it or not.
And that problem? It has a fancy name, dysbiosis. It just means that the trillions of tiny microorganisms living in your gut are out of balance. And more, scientific reviews are linking this exact imbalance to all sorts of chronic diseases. We're talking obesity, diabetes, heart problems, even neurological issues. So the big question is, what can we do about it?
So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get clear on what milk kefir actually is. Then, we'll dig into the science of how it works its magic. After that, we're getting practical. I'll show you how to make it yourself. And finally, we'll wrap up with some common troubleshooting tips so you can start with total confidence. So let's meet the star of our show, milk kefir. The name itself comes from a Slavic word that means well-being, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know about its reputation throughout history. It's not just a food, it's a living food, a probiotic powerhouse that people have been enjoying for centuries.
The real magic behind kefir comes from these wonderful little critters, the kefir grains. Now, they aren't actual grains like wheat or rice. Nope. They're this incredible, complex community of bacteria and yeasts, all living together in symbiosis. The best way to think of them is like a sourdough starter, but for milk. They eat the milk sugar, the lactose, and in return, they transform that milk into this tart, slightly bubbly, and incredibly probiotic-rich drink. Now, this is a really key point. Not all kefir is created equal. You can buy a commercial powder, sure, and it has a few selected cultures, but it's really a one-and-done kind of thing. The real kefir grains, on the other hand, have this huge variety of wild microorganisms. And the best part, as long as you keep feeding them milk, they will keep making kefir for you forever. Okay, let's get into the really cool part, the science. We know what kefir is, but how does it actually work inside your body? What is the research telling us about its health benefits? This diagram just lays it out so perfectly. Over on the left, you see how that gut imbalance, dysbiosis, can contribute to all these different diseases. But when you introduce kefir, you start to rebalance that gut microbiome. And as the diagram shows, that can kick off this amazing chain reaction of positive effects. It's hypoglycemic, anti-inflammatory, hypotensive. The list just goes on. It's an incredible visual of how powerful this stuff can be. And hey, this isn't just a theory, it's actually backed up by human clinical trials. Just look at this data from a major scientific review. For people with metabolic syndrome, a daily dose of kefir reduced inflammation and blood pressure. For those with type 2 diabetes, it lowered HbA1c. That's a key marker for long-term blood sugar. And in a study on obesity, it even helped lower bad LDL cholesterol. The evidence is just really compelling. So if we were to list its superpowers, this would be it. Research shows kefir is antimicrobial, meaning it helps fight off bad bugs. It's got these hypoglycemic, hypotensive, and hypolipidemic effects, which is just a sciencey way of saying it helps manage your blood sugar, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol. And really, at the heart of it all is that gut modulation, bringing your whole inner ecosystem back into balance. And this quote just nails it. That wild diversity in real kefir grains is what gives it that unique, kind of funky taste, and way more importantly, those superior health benefits. It's really the difference between a perfectly manicured garden and a thriving wild ecosystem. Okay, so you're probably thinking, this sounds absolutely amazing, but is it a huge pain to make? Well, let's get into it. This is your call to adventure, and I promise you, it's way simpler than you think. So if you get dehydrated grains, your first job is just to wake them up. You pop them in a jar with a little bit of milk, cover it, and let it sit for a day. Then you'll strain out the grains, toss that first bit of milk, and just repeat that process every day. After about a week or two, you'll start to see the milk thicken up, and that's the sign. It means your grains are activated and ready to make some delicious kefir you can actually drink. Now, here is a super important pro tip for when you're waking up your grains. It's best to use regular pasteurized milk. Why? Well, raw milk has its own powerful community of microbes, and they can actually compete with your kefir cultures while they're still trying to get strong. Once your grains are fully active, you can totally switch to raw milk if you want, but start with pasteurized for the best results. Okay, so once you get going, you might have some questions. Don't worry, literally everyone does. Let's just tackle some of the most common ones right now to make sure your kefir journey is as smooth as possible. What if you need to take a break, maybe go on vacation? It's so easy. For a short break, up to 3 weeks, just put your grains in a jar with plenty of fresh milk, seal it up, and pop it in the fridge. For a longer break, you can actually dry them. Just give them a rinse, pat them dry, and store them in an airtight bag with a little powdered milk right in the fridge for up to 6 months. Sooner or later, every single person who makes kefir sees this. Your jar has separated into a solid layer and a watery layer. The first time it happens, you think, oh no, did I break it? No, not at all. This is completely normal. It just means your kefir overcultured a little bit. Maybe the fermentation went a tad too long, or your kitchen was a little warm. It is perfectly fine to drink. You can stir it back together, or you can strain it and get this thick Greek yogurt-style kefir. To stop it from happening next time, just use a little more milk, try a shorter ferment time, or find a cooler spot for it to set. A lot of people naturally want to use the best quality milk they can find, and that usually means reaching for organic. But there's a little catch you really need to be aware of. You see, a lot of organic milk is ultra-pasteurized, or UHT. That super high heat process can actually damage the proteins in the milk. And why does that matter? Well, because those proteins are what help your kefir thicken up. So if they're damaged, your kefir will still ferment, but it's going to stay thin and runny. So always check the label for regular pasteurization, not UHT. This is another really common fear for beginners. You've been feeding your grains for weeks, but that little cluster you started with looks exactly the same. You start to wonder, did I get duds? Are they dead? No, absolutely not. It's so important to know that it can take 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes even longer, for kefir grains to start multiplying. The most important sign of health isn't growth, it's function. The real question is, are your grains turning milk into tart, thick kefir every day or two? If the answer is yes, they are perfectly healthy and alive. Just be patient. So let's just recap the big takeaways here. First, kefir is a living food that helps bring your gut microbiome back into balance. Second, this isn't just folklore. Modern science is linking it to real, measurable health benefits. Third, it is so cheap and so simple to make right in your own kitchen. And finally, because the little grains eat all the milk sugar, it ends up being 99.9% lactose-free, which means a lot of people who can't normally handle milk can enjoy it. Which really leaves us with one final thought. When you think about its long history, the solid science, how easy it is to make, and how incredibly cheap it is, you really have to ask yourself, could this simple, homemade ferment be one of the most powerful superfoods you can get your hands on? Thanks for watching.